Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we've got a donation deck and boy howdy is it a spicy one. We're playing a sort of green-black mid-rangey type pile which also has access to things like Dark Depths in it, whilst also being, you know, a Death Shadow deck with a Green Sun's Invasion of Ikoria package and all sorts of bits and pieces. When I was sent this donation, there was so many different things going on with it that I wasn't really sure how to tweak it. I've got some thoughts, obviously, but I figured I'm just going to run it as is because there's some wild numbers here and I wanted to see how it came together as a thing in the first place. So let's try and tackle this. So we've got some Thoughtseize. You know, that makes sense for a black deck. Let's have the Thoughtseize. And then we've got a whole bunch of one-offs here, right? So we've got Green Sun, Zenith, and Invasion of Ikoria, so we can go and find our Dark Confidant, our Hexmage for the Ikoria combo. We can get our Fiend Artisan. We've got Reclaimers. We got Safekeeper. We can even get Death Shadow with the Invasion of Ikoria because it's any creature. So we've got a lot of options here. We've also got Ramunap Excavator with a Wasteland package. We've got a Singleton Endurance. We have no Collector Roof in the main deck. That's in the sideboard. So we've got all of these moving pieces. The idea of trying to find the right piece at the right time. Now the things that we're just going to have in abundance generally, because there are sort of staple parts of our deck, is playing a Elvish Reclaimer, Death Shadow type affair, which is a weird selection of cards, don't get me wrong. But we have Snuff Outs, and we have an Overgrown Tomb, we've got the Thoughtseize, so we've got ways of shrinking our life total for Death Shadow, then ideally we're going to go and find the bits and pieces we need to win the game with at any given moment. We've got a couple of Sylvan Libraries to try and bring it all together. And we've got a weird selection of Planeswalkers here. So we have this one, Tyvar, Jubilant, Brawler. So this gives all your creatures haste in terms of their activated abilities. Now, the only activated abilities that really matter here are Elvish Reclaimer and Fiend Artisan. So we can activate those the turn we play them if we have this in play. But this also lets us untap creatures, which can be untapping a Dryad Arbor for mana, or can be getting a second Fiend Artisan activation, or just giving pseudo vigilance to our big Death Shadow. And the other mode is you mill 3 cards and return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that's basically all the cards in our deck, right? Apart from the Ramunap and the Endurance, all of other creatures can come back. So maybe that's going to prove quite handy. It can also flip over some things and gives access to a Life from Alone that is scored in there as well, because why not? So we've got some options there. We also have Grist, which can also mill our cards a bit more as well. And this is just, you know, a 1-card win condition in a lot of ways. Gives us flexibility. It's a removal spell we can tutor for. It's just a great card, right? And we've got these Snuff Outs. 3 Snuff Outs are sort of like a core bit of interaction that we're trying to keep going. So because we've got these Reclaimers, we've got a couple of crop rotations, which makes sense to me. I think probably just a 4th Reclaimer and 1 crop rotation would be better. But again, because we've got Elvish Reclaimer, we may as well have a land package. Or, well, not may as well. It's kind of the reason to run it, right? So we've got, you know, your Paducah Bog. We've got Castle Locthwain, which is a bit of an interesting one. Karakas, Nurturing Peatland, Sejiri Steppe, obviously Dark Depths, Thespian Stage combo. We can go and get Wastelands. We can go and get Yavimaya or Urborg. So, you know, we've got a decent selection of things we can go and find. We've also got a Sheoldred Edict for a different piece of removal if you want to be able to kill Planeswalkers or whatever. So there's so many disparate parts of this deck. But a lot of them kind of have overlapping synergies or just things that we can go and fetch. Quite how it's going to work out, I don't know. Personally, in my opinion, I don't think Invasion of Ikoria is a good Magic the Gathering card. Certainly not for Legacy. But I've definitely seen people win with it. So it's not completely like a nothing card. It's going to have some useful text sometimes, for sure. And maybe just getting an 8/8 will help. Although it is a legendary creature. So the Karakas that's already going to be shutting down our Marit Lage kill if we're going for it is going to get to shut down the invasion as well. I'm going to have to dedicate some resources to hitting the 6 on it, unless we're just turning it straight into a creature with Hexmage, and we've just got 4 mana 8/8, which is fine. But it's going to be a weird one, this one, right? There's also a few other weird cards that even I had to read first time out. So Tear Asunder, so this is 1 and a green, exile target artifact or enchantment. If this was kicked, exile target non-land permanent instead. So it's 2 mana to exile like an Urza's Saga, or a Helm of Obedience, or a Leyline, or whatever's annoying you at the time. And then you can pay 4 if you want, as just a blow up any non-land permanent. So it's like an expensive Maelstrom Pulse kind of thing. And then we've got a Singleton Berserk, which is obviously quite useful with Death Shadow, but can allow our Marit Lage to go through chump blockers. Not really sure what that's doing in this deck, I'm being perfectly honest. I've also got this Wrenn and Realmbreaker, which can produce threats because it gives you turns your lands into 3/3s until your next turn, so you can smash with that. So this is again is an interesting one. We've got more of this milling synergy, so we're going to be milling ourselves quite a lot. I think we should probably lean more into that if that's what we're doing and have more life from the loams. But it will pump out our Fiend Artisan. I don't know, there's so much going on in this list. I think it may be a bit too busy, but we're going to give it a go, and we're probably going to have some pretty wild games with it. Quick rundown of the sideboard. Got a couple of surgical extractions, but graveyard hate. We've got lots of 1-offs because our Invasion of Ikoria can go and find various things. So we can get the Collector Roof, or the Plague Engineer, or the Turak, or the Opposition Agent. So we can find all these things with Fiend Artisan or Invasion of Ikoria. Obviously, Green Sun Zenith can find the Collector Roof as well. We've got a Sorin. This is just another win condition, basically. If we are in a game where we just want more threats, we can board into another threat here. We've got a Choke. Obviously going to be great. We're not playing islands. We can jam up people who are. A couple of Force of Vigors to blow up problem permanents. And a couple of Abrupt Decays to sort of double up on that sort of effect, but slightly different. And we have a couple of Veil of Summers if we just need to really resolve certain things. This can be quite a useful tool. I don't really know what else to say about this one. It's got a lot going on, and we're just going to have to give it a whirl and see how it plays out. I imagine because there's so many disparate elements in it, it might end up being quite swingy games in terms of what we have in our opening hands. But that's part of the fun. So I like doing these donation decks because you get to see some wild stuff, and this is certainly in that category. The old Death Shadow Reclaimer Dark Depths. Pretty weird. We also a 61 card deck just for the icing on the cake. If you would like a donation deck on my channel at some point, why not contact me via the Discord link below, or just drop me a message however you like, and we can sort that out for you. Also, I've got Patreon you can check out, and just like, comment, subscribe on my videos. That really helps too. Okay, let's give this a whirl. I'm sure I'll think of a pithy name, but we're going to call it Shadow Depths for now, and let's play some Legacy. Right, we're into round 1 now. This is our opening hand. It doesn't play Magic because of the mana on it, so it's an easy mulligan. This is a 1-lander on the draw. Can't really leverage this into anything either. We've got 2 3-drops. I think we are supposed to mulligan this one, but our opponent is on the play, so we have to see what they do first. If they mulligan to 5, then it's better, but I don't think we can just keep this, right? 2 3-drops is just weighing us down a lot. Alright, this is the best one so far. We can keep this. I'm going to keep these 2 lands. This library can cover a multitude of sins. The Death Shadow is something for later, and I think the Sylvan Safekeeper is also like that. If we can Sylvan Library into our combo, sure. We only have 1 Dark Depths in this deck though, so it's a little bit sketchy on that front. Lair of the Hydra. So this is like the Newton Elves. Alright, so we'll probably go and get ourselves a basic... problem with getting a basic forest here is it makes casting the Hexmage difficult. I think we will get the buy and just lean into it here. Let's play out a Reclaimer and pass a turn. This also enables our Snuff Out if we need it on whatever our opponent may try and deploy. A Glimpse of Nature. Okay, so we're looking at some sort of elf shenanigans here. Oh no, we are looking at a very different sort of deck. Shield Sphere. Alright, I am surprised what our opponent is running here. So our opponent is going to draw a whole bunch of cards here. Presumably building into a Gaia's Cradle off of all these. That will tap for a bunch of mana, and then they'll do something broken with that mana. What that'll be, I don't know. Could just be putting a Charbelcher into play. Yeah, so we had no window to kill any of their guys anyway, because they played this just before they want to tap it for mana. So we couldn't reduce the amount of mana they're going to get from it. These creatures aren't green. Creatures not being... what does this do? Terrasta. Trample, haste, has hexproof as long as it enters the battlefield this turn. Okay, it's not that scary. It's just a 7-power guy. We can kill it next turn. Chatter Storm. Now this is something we can't do much about. We don't have a Tabernacle in our deck either. There's one of our things to tutor for. If we did, we'd be in a pretty good spot here, because we could go and get the Tabernacle, kill the Thruster, and just leave our opponent having to tap their Cradle for all their guys. And then we can just go and get a Wasteland the turn after, take out the Cradle and get them dead. So I'm not really sure how we're supposed to win this game now. If we can... Oh, geez. How are we supposed to do anything here? I'm just trying to work out. We can't really make a 2020 here. We don't have a Tabernacle. So we can't really block this. It's trample, so we take... So we've got 7 coming in. We can block this, and then we take 7 plus 6. Or even if we block this to bump the toughness on it, that's 7 plus 5 is exactly lethal. If we play this and we crack it, that takes one of our life points away. Yeah, we got nothing here. I guess we can kill this, block this. Sure, we can kill the Thruster. It's going to be tough to win this one, but we might be able to sneak our way into winning this one. I think the Vampire Hexmage here is just going to save us some damage, so we want to put this into play now. So we're going to kill the Thruster, and then I think we're supposed to... So we're in a bind. We could have snuffed out in our turn to dodge something like a Veil of Summer, but if they have the ability to do another Thruster and attack, then that's bad. So yeah, could be tough here. 12 mana. Oh, Thruster. They're tapping. They're using a lot of mana. It's going to be a Green Suns for Cratehoof Behemoth. We definitely don't beat that. They're making a large lair of the Hydra. So this is an 11 power creature. It doesn't have trample though. Okay, one of our creatures has to die. Are we dead to this now? Let's go to blocks. Which of these creatures needs to go in the bin? This can get a Wasteland, but the Wasteland will come in tapped. So I guess this has to go in the bin. We have to make a 20/20 and hope that that somehow does something. Okay. No, we're just dead here, right? So we kill a bunch of their stuff. Well, we kill 2 of their things. They still have 6 damage plus this layer of the Hydra. Not sure what the plan is here. A second Cradle. Saura Shepherd. They're just showing us more cards they didn't really need to show us here. So I'll certainly take that. Another Chatterstorm. Yeah. Alright, I think we can scoop it up there. They're not going to play any more cards after this. I didn't need to. But we saw a couple more cards in the Shepherds. Alright. Mono Green Storm. Not something you see every day. They're also like Creature Storm. So Collector is not actually going to make a difference here. Which isn't great. The Plague Engineer and Toxic Deluge are probably going to be quite useful here. Turak does interact with their hand a little bit. But I don't think that's going to be quick enough. They didn't actually show us any tutor effects there. Do we think they have them? Hard to say. I think removal is probably going to be good. I don't think they're a Lotus Petal deck, to be honest. Not getting that vibe from them. This is definitely going to be too slow to do Life from the Loam shenanigans. Endurance can block their creatures quite effectively. Need to keep on our tutors to try and get this Plague Engineer. I don't think the Abrupt Decays are going to help us out too much here. We need our discard. Berserk's probably a little bit cute here. Tear Asunder. Don't think we need that one. Oh, we need to keep 61 cards in, don't we? Because we're a 61 card deck. Maybe we keep the Tear Asunder in just in case they're playing Belcher and they just leave it hanging out there. It's certainly possible that they have the Belcher. Or is a Force of Vigor just better than a Tear Asunder? Probably. Yeah, we don't have the best tools here. Maybe Tyvar is better off as another Force of Vigor. Opposition Agent maybe better than... It's not better than Grist. It's probably better than Wrenn though. Just because it's a guy that can come down and block and survive stuff. We need to block a bunch of 1/1s. We need to kill a massive yacht. We have the turn 1 Thoughtseize, which I have to imagine is going to be good. We don't have second land, which is kind of the issue. But we do have Force of Vigor. So we have the interactions. We find a second land or our opponent plays Yavimaya, then we're fine. But we have to have a turn 1 Thoughtseize or we're probably going to lose this game. So even though this is a bit ropey because we don't have the second mana source, I think it's worth keeping. Because what would I be mulliganing to? Another hand with Thoughtseize, but also a slightly better hand with Thoughtseize? That feels like chasing yourself into oblivion there. Alright. Our opponent kept 7, which is quite disturbing for us. Let's see what they got. Chatterstorm, Phyrexian. So they do have Lotus Petals in there. Chatterstorm, Thrasher's Tempest Roar. So this gets reduced by 3 for every spell they cast. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3, 6, 9, 12. So they can make this on their next turn if we don't take it. But if we take this, then we're going to have to deal with the Chatterstorm. Our Sheoldred's Edict isn't going to do a great deal because of how many things they have. Yuck. How are we supposed to actually beat this? We could take out the Ornithopter, the Lotus Petal, maybe slow them down a turn. Yikes. Oh, I don't like this very much at all. If we take out the Lotus Petal, they're not going to play out all their things. They've got 2 payoffs here, so there's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. No, sorry, this only makes 1, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess that's possibly easier to beat than the Thruster. Because they got 3 creatures, we can't rely on our Edict to kill the Thraster. I think we just have to take the Thraster. Yuck. So this turn our opponent gets to make a bunch of 1/1s, and then we're probably dead. Now, we could hit land drops into Toxic Deluge and kill them, or Plague Engineer. It's going to be tough. These sorts of mid-rangey type decks tend to struggle a bit against fast combo in my experience. They had the double payoff, which is a bit awkward. I think they should just make the Chatterstorms tokens here. Like, it's a 4-turn clock. It's not too bad. Alright, our opponents started making a move. There's a Phyrexian Walker. And they drew another Phyrexian Walker, so we know their hand here. So we're going to get 6 tokens this turn. Shield Sphere, yep. Playing the Lotus Petal next. And then the Chatterstorm for their last card. They're going to put 6 damage on the board and ask us to try and beat it. Our Sheoldred Edict can make them sacrifice a creature token. But we need to find more mana for this. There's no point pitching these things to blow this up right now. Okay, we need a land to at least play the game. We have a land. Now the question is, are we going to Sheoldred Edict this turn or try and Sylvan Library? I think we have to Sylvan Library because if we can find one of our 2 answers to all of their guys, then we'll be okay. Whereas Sheoldred's Edict is not actually going to stop very much from killing us. So we could find either Vampire Hexmage. This does not pump the thing, so that's not a problem. So we can find either a Vampire Hexmage here, or we can find land Plague Engineer. Either of those is fine, but the amount of life we have to work with is going to dwindle here. So Death Shadow, that's not one of the things we need here. Opposition Agent, also not one of the things we need here. So what are we doing? So we've got 7 damage coming in this turn. We can put in a Death Shadow and Edict them. So then we'd be taking, so block, so 2 of them won't attack us. We take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But that requires us to pay 4 life for this Urborg to do that. And then the following turn we'll be able to block. So they'll only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures. So the following turn we can maybe block 2 of them and take 3. So if we take 5 this turn, we go down to 7. But then we pay 4 if we want to do that. And that does a lot more damage to us. Are we supposed to put the Opposition Agent here on top or the Shadow? So the Shadow can block and then get bigger. So the Shadow is fine because when it comes to measure damage, it will look at our life total and it will take 1 damage, but it will be bigger. So it will live. So I think we have to put these on top of our library. Not great. Play our 1/1. If our opponent plays something like a Yavimaya, they can give us access to our Sheoldred's Edict. It's unlikely, but... Okay. So we're going to take 6 this turn. Lair of the Hydra. This is a little bit of a problem. Hopefully we can find a wasteland before they can find a Cradle. Probably are just getting jammed up pretty bad here. So we'll block here, because then our sweeper will clean it all up a lot more easily if we hit the Plague Engineer. So what will happen here is we'll take a bunch. Our Shadow will live. And then the top of our deck's got to be pretty darn good. We can afford to take 1 card if it's going to get us the Plague Engineer. These things are not the things we require. So we can block 1. We can block 2 here and take 1, 2, 3, 4. That will require us to pay 4 life. So we can't do that. So we put the Thoughtseize on top. And then we put the Opposition Agent on top. In this turn, we can play out the Dark Confidant and hold up the Sheoldred's Edict. So we can block 3 of these and take 3. However, if they decide to not attack, then we will have some trouble. There's no point attacking into all of their guys here, so we're just going to pass and hope that they keep attacking. If they stop attacking and just try and let our Dark Confidant kill us, that's probably going to work some amount of time. We do have the library to stop this from killing us, but we are planning on just trading this off this turn. This can be a 1/1 if I want to do that. Yep. Each opponent sacrifices a creature token. So they're going to lose one of their squirrels. So we want our Dark Confidant to die. Would we rather take out the Lair of the Hydra? Or would we rather take out one of these? I think we need to take out the Hydra here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because that means if they find a Cradle, it's just going to jam us up. This puts us to 2. But Plague Engineer or Toxic Deluge does keep us alive. Come on, Library, do your thing. So we can block 2 of these and take 2 damage. No, we can block 3 of these and take 1 damage, right? No, because we can't keep both of these. Yeah, this is awkward, isn't it? Can't pay 4 life, so this has to go on top. Right. Our opponent has to attack with all of their things. But they seem pretty intent on doing that every turn, so... Yep, they've attacked with all their things, we can't win. Sure. Yeah. They had double payoffs in their opening hand that we couldn't really do anything about. We could have maybe bought a turn by not playing... By hitting the Lotus Petal at the start. But then they'd have both their payoffs. They could just make the really big guy that we couldn't deal with anyway. So... I guess maybe we could have had the Shadow as a thing that can soak up the big guy after we've taken enough. But a pretty awkward spot. We're sort of trying to play that bit of a mid-rangey game, and our opponent's just saying, here's what we're doing on turn 1, can you beat it? And we couldn't. Let's go to round 2. We're on the play for round 2, and our hand looks a little bit more reasonable. This Death Shadow is not really going to be cutting the mustard for us, unfortunately. But we can keep this one. Let's hope this Tear Asunder does something. I'd rather not have to pay a whole bunch for it. So we'll get our Verdant Catacombs. This way we can fetch a basic if there's something like a Blood Moon happening straight off. And we can also cast a Tear Asunder on a Blood Moon, if that's what happens. Not a terrible place to be. We can play a Fiend Artisan next turn, and then start spinning our Dryad Arbors into more useful tools. A Bayou. Is our opponent going to be on a fair or an unfair Bayou deck? Are they going to be more towards the sort of Newton Elves, or are they going to be like Dark Depths combo? Or sometimes the Storm decks have Bayous in them as well. Who knows? Are we supposed to Wasteland here? They did Bayou and then did nothing with it. Is that time to Wasteland our opponent, or is it time to get the Fiend Artisan? I think it's time to Wasteland. If your opponent doesn't do anything on turn 1, and you have the opportunity of Wastelanding them, I think that's worth doing. Because it means the chance of them doing anything on their second turn is also reduced. So it's relatively cost-free to maybe mana screw them. Another Bayou. Right, this time they're playing a spell. A Cabal Therapy. Okay, so we're probably in the Nick Fit realm of things. What are they going to name here? Green Sun Zenith would probably be my name in the blind. But we'll see. Could be the Fiend Artisan. But I imagine they're probably going to name something we don't have. Natural Order. Sure. That's not what we're up to. Elvish Reclaimer. How do I feel about Elvish Reclaimer? Would I rather play this Reclaimer, or would I rather play this Fiend Artisan and get that cooking? I quite like to set up a Ramunap loop in the near future. I think we'll go for... This probably has to be a Bayou. No, we're going Overgrown Tomb, actually, and pay some life. So this allows us to potentially spin up something next turn. We don't really have a 1-drop we can spin up, though. Like, it'll just be another Reclaimer, which you already have, so it's not really worth doing. I suppose you could find a Sylvan Safekeeper, but we're more looking towards... Alright, they didn't do a second land drop there. That's good, obviously. Let's see what we can find here. Okay, so we can assemble Dark Depths combo relatively well in the near future. Get this Dryad Arbor out, and I think we're just going to play this Reclaimer and just get a little poke for 1, I suppose. So next turn we can spin up Hexmage and deploy Depths and have a win condition right there and then. And Cabal Therapies won't impact what's in our hand in terms of what we're trying to combo with. So we might just have our opponent next turn. Our opponent is still stuck on 1 mana over there. This is only as a sorcery. So we will... 2, 3. This is 2. Sack our Dryad Arbor. Also pumps our Reclaimer. Get Hexmage. Deploy Dark Depths. And go to attacks. So Sheoldred's Edict is something that can actually interfere with this. Because they can choose a token creature for us to sacrifice. But they might have Wastelands. So... They're kind of in a spot where they're going to be taking a lot of physical damage soon anyway, just from our creatures, without having to worry about our big Haymaker coming in. Alright, they're scooping it up. I'm pretty sure they're a Nick Fit deck, though. Bayou into Cabal Therapy. That's probably where we're at with that. And they just were a bit mana screwed. So, Nick Fit decks. Probably want something like a Sorin. So, basically what the Nick Fit deck does is use things like Veteran Explorer to ramp itself out into playing big sort of haymakers. So the Opposition Agent is going to be useful here. The Snuff Out usually can take out their things because they're playing that 5 mana Elder Gargoth, I think it's called. Stuff like that, so we can actually target them with this. Wasteland is kind of a weird proposition here because if they get their Veteran Explorer up and running, then we can kind of just be ignored because they're going to have loads of basics. But if they don't, then it's relatively useful. So Extraction does stop the Veteran Explorer trigger. No, it doesn't stop the Veteran Explorer. That's when it's put into the graveyard. It's the Academy Rector it stops. And we don't know if our opponent's on Rector. So maybe we don't want those. Veil of Summer can block some discard from hitting us, but I don't think that's that important here. I'm not sure this is going to be a Tear Asunder match. I don't really think that should be in the main deck, if I'm being perfectly honest. Do I like Berserk in our deck here? Not especially. I don't think Safekeeper is going to be... I think our opponent's going to be targeting our creatures. They're more likely going to have Snuff Outs, which we ignore anyway, and then they're going to have Edicts, I suspect. So this is what I'm going for. We can reappraise the situation. Abrupt Decay is one of those things where it can be good or it can just be completely blank. So it can potentially blow up a Pernicious Deed if they don't have the mana up, but I don't think that's worth it. Then we're just going to submit like this and just play some fair magic, I suppose. So what does our hand do? We have a Fiend Artisan to do some stuff with. Is doing some stuff any good? Like this Death Shadow is blank and the Sejiri Steppe is blank. That's two cards in our opening hand that aren't looking great right now. I think we should just mulligan this. This is far better. We'll keep this. I'm going to get rid of the crop rotation here and see how we want to play this game. A very nice swamp. Cabal Therapy. What are you going to name, opponent? Green Sun Zenith or something? Name's Fiend Artisan. Swing and a miss from our opponent there. So we have a choice of playing the Elvish Reclaimer, the Thoughtseize, or the Bajuka Bog to take out the Cabal Therapy here. What are we most worried about our opponent having here? I think what I'm most worried about them is just having Veteran Explorer, sack it, and go off. If we play the Bayou into the Reclaimer, they could have double Explorer. If we play the Bajuka Bog, they definitely don't have the Cabal Therapy, but they might have Explorer and a Cabal Therapy. And then we're just going to get a peek at what our opponent's doing, because we're a little bit shy of information here. Okay, so they're doing something a little bit similar to us. We'll take this Decay. And then next turn, if we want to, we can take the Loam and Bajuka Bog it away. That seems pretty solid. They know we have a Bajuka Bog because they've seen it with the Cabal Therapy. So they're not really incentivized to play their Loam. They can do it just to draw a Verdant Catacombs if they want. A Death's Shadow. Do we Thoughtseize the life from Loam out their hand and then Bajuka Bog them? I think we probably do. Opposition Agent. How much do I care about Opposition Agent right now? We will need another mana source that doesn't fetch in order to defeat this Opposition Agent. I think we'll just take the Loam and say goodbye to the Loam and the Cabal Therapy here. This does leave our opponent with an Opposition Agent for next turn. But if they bash us a little bit, then our Death Shadow can swallow up the Opposition Agent anyway. And if we find enough time, we can Grist our way into killing it. So we've got options here. But I think just getting caught in a Life from the Loam Wasteland lock or something is just going to be really hard to beat. So our opponent is wondering if they should play the Opposition Agent now just to turn off the Green Sun Zenith or try and do it in response to us doing something. I always try trying to like get people with that, and it never works really. I think the correct play is always just to make it. So we're going to cast this guy for black, green. We will mill ourselves and make a 1/1 that is probably going to be chump blocking this Opposition Agent. But if we can put some lands in our graveyard, we can turn on our Reclaimer, which can gobble up the agent. Alternatively, we can let the Opposition Agent hit our Grist once, and then we can make 2 insect tokens so it can never attack again unless they have a removal spell for the insect token. Oh, okay. Game has changed. Yikes. Yeah, our opponent's kind of doing the same thing we're doing, but I think their list is just more streamlined. So this is coming in at the Grist. I don't think we're... Killing this isn't going to make a difference. Do we have... I guess... Yeah, I think we just have to let the Grist take it this time. So we're looking for Karakas, maybe? That would be handy. Invasion of Ikoria. Do we have something for that? So we can't cast it into the Opposition Agent, obviously. Even if we could cast into the opposition agent, I don't think we have anything worth finding. I think we are on making an insect token here. Playing. If we draw a card, what can we find here? We can't cast an Edict. We could draw a Karakas. So I think we're doing this. We drew another Green Sun Zenith. Okay, so if our opponent activates their Thespian Stage, we lose the game. Are we supposed to bluff that we have something by not playing our Reclaimer? I think so. Like run afoul or something is what we can bluff here. Alright, no, they're just going for it. We're dead. Alright. Live by the 2020, die by the 2020. It's very much how I operate. I think we do on these Abrupt Decays now. They've sort of shown us some things like the opposition agent, which is probably worth hitting there. We need to find 2 more pieces for this. So I think the Lone Wasteland is going to be pretty useful because they're less on the Nick Fit side than I originally thought. I don't think Berserk is where I want to be. I guess it's okay for dueling 2020s. That's not really the game I want to play. These flying guys. With flying. Okay, so this is pretty useful. We need 1 more cut here. I think it's probably Wrenn and Realmbreaker. This card is not really where I want to be. But then again, Tyvar's not very good either, but slightly... It is even easier to cast. Maybe we'll trim one of the Snuff Outs, because we've got the Abrupt Decays in, and our opponent's representing black threats more than other things. Alright, we'll try this. Alright, our opening hand doesn't get to play Magic, so we're going to mulligan. Okay. I like some of the things we've got going on here. I think we'll throw back the crop rotation here. Leyline in the Void. Leyline in the Void. Okay, that's fine. Just going to get ourselves a Bayou here. I think we're just going to go and get ourselves a Dryad Arbor now while the getting's good. And this can represent a turn 2 Grist, which can just sort of tick up and get things done. The ultimate won't work on this, but we do have the ability just to keep making 1/1s and use them as removal for their creatures. Life from the Loam, glad you could make it to the party here. Do I want to show them the Karakas now or not? I don't think I do. How useful is this Boseiju going to be? This Boseiju can hit a land, so I think we're supposed to leave the Boseiju in hand. Alright, so green, black 1. Let's make a lad. Make an insect. So this is just saving up removal for later turns, as well as just giving us something that can beat down a little bit. Our Reclaimer is always going to be a 1/2, but it can find some useful lands. If our opponent plays a Naked Dark Depths without the other combo, we can, if we have our Reclaimer in play, we can go and fetch our own Thespian Stage and make a 20/20. So that's certainly something I'm looking to maneuver the game towards. I imagine our opponent's deck isn't an all-in Dark Depths deck. It's just a thing that they have in their deck. So they're probably running a similar but more streamlined version of what we're running. But maybe some of our weird little fruity bits and pieces can get it done for us. Right, Swamp. Veteran Explorer. Yep. Don't feel like ramping us, eh? A Wasteland. Well, that's not nothing. So I think we will deploy our Reclaimer. We will... I don't think we want to crack this. We don't really have anything good to do with it just yet. We'll play our Wasteland. Now that we know they have Dark Depths, I think we're more incentivized to hold this. But we could take them off their Bayou. I think we're going to hold this for a higher priority target. Can't really attack into them. We don't want to just ramp them out here. If we had something good to do with our mana, I'd be more inclined to take that and say, okay, we'll have it. But okay, a Thespian Stage. What is this? A Grist Hunger Tide. Okay. Are they going to use this on the Veteran Explorer? They are. Are we supposed to hit their Thespian Stage right now before they can crop rotate? I think so. They're going to use this to destroy our Planeswalker, I imagine. We're going to get 2 lands out of the deal here. So we do have some basics. Get Swamp and a Forest. We do get to kill their Grist, in theory. Oh, I quite like his Thoughtseize to sort of see what's going on in our opponent's hand there. 2 Helms of Obedience. Yeah, that's gonna put a cat among the pigeons, isn't it? How are we supposed to beat these Helms of Obedience? So next turn they can play Helm and pop it. Yeah, our opponent is just absolutely clowning on us here. So we can attack this at Grist, this at our opponent, this at our opponent. The double ley line actually coming in clutch here for our opponent. We have one ley line beat, but not two. I suspect given the state of the board as well, they're just going to go for it. There's no reason not to. There's the helm. Yeah, that's us done, I think. So the one option we could have had last turn was to Boseiju one of their lands and hope they didn't have another basic. But our opponent is playing a Veteran Explorer deck, so they're almost certainly going to have a bunch more basics. So I don't think that's a winning line. Is it better than trying to hope that our opponent makes a mistake? I don't know, maybe we are supposed to Boseiju there, but I think we had lost that game. Yeah, so our opponent's just got a much better version of what we're doing, I think, to be honest. So a little bit awkward. Let's go to the third round and see if we can pick up a win. Right, we're on the draw for round 3. Our hand is bad. We have some spells we can't really cast or do anything with, and we'd have to lead on Dryad Arbor. It seems like an easy mulligan to me. Alright, this one's better. There's some plans here. I think the most niche card in the set here is the Tear Asunder, so that can go. And we'll start the game off. Let's see what our opponent wants to do with their first turn. They are a Yorion deck, so they've played out a Windswept Heath. So I suspect we are looking at the Yorion Zenith deck, which does win with inevitability. We need a second green source here, I think, so this probably has to be a Bayou. Right, let's go for the Swamp and to this Thoughtseize. Ice Fang, Omnath, Ending. It's not great for us. And Wasteland's probably not going to do anything here either. Do we take the Ending or do we take the Omnath? I guess we take the Ending. This is another reason why I think the Invasion isn't great, because it's something that can just be ending away for 2. But we're trying to cast this for 4 and maybe get there with the 8/8. But the problem with that is they're going to have a bunch of Death Touches, potentially. Yep, so if they go and get a Snow-Covered Forest and a Snow-Covered Island, yep. So that's one of the Ice Fangs out of the way. The next one will have Death Touch and give them both Death Touch. So not the best. I suppose we're playing out a forest here. We can crop rotate. We don't really have anything exciting to crop rotate into here. So I think we're just passing. Yeah, it's going to be tough to pull out wins with what we've got in front of us here. There's the Savannah. I've got an Uro this time. Okay. We can't really afford to Paducah Bog here. So we're going to take a peck for 1. There's a Death Shadow. Okay. So we have an Endurance. Our opponent's got 1, 2, 3 cards in their graveyard. So they need to have 5. So we don't need to pop this Endurance just yet. It's relatively telegraphed that we have an Endurance here, but we haven't been doing anything all game, so maybe they just suspect that we don't have anything going on. Abundant Growth, sure. Underground Sea. Yep. We have an option here of deploying our Endurance and burning a Snuff Out one of these guys, but that feels terrible. I think I'm just going to take 1. We want our life total lower for Death Shadow anyway. We will be mana efficient here and use this now and get rid of this Uro, because we don't want that as a thing that our opponent gets access to. We're kind of saving our Snuff Out for this Omnath. We don't really want to get this big boy tangling with us. So if we draw a land, we can go for the invasion plan. Right. How good is an 8/8 going to be? Might be tricky, but we'll see. This is the thing people were excited about when the set came out. I don't think it's good enough, but we'll see. Karakas beats it as well. Force of Will pitching the Omnath. Okay. So that makes me more interested in Snuffing Out now. We'll get our life total lower for Death Shadow. It also means we can clear the Death Touch here, but if they play a land that can give them snow-covered mana, then we can get a bit messed up. Or they play another Ice Fang. 4 mana, Green Sun Zenith for 3. I guess we see what it is, and then maybe we can snuff it out. This could be something like Leovold. Okay, it's going to be the Grist. I'm just going to make a 1/1, sure. I'm not attacking here. Interesting. Double Snuff Out. That's certainly a thing that we can do if we want to. We've got 3 cards in hand. So if we snuff both of these out and attack, then they are just in the chomping with the insect plan. Okay, I think we're going to try this. I really hate casting this one. I think it's probably just about right. We're attacks. Attack the Grist. Attack their Shadow. Are we wastelanding our opponent? They have 1 black source available. Although they have the Abundant Growth, which certainly helps. What am I more scared of? The white spells or the black spells? They're not going to have any black spells. We can't shut them off of blue. We can shut them off of white. I think we're supposed to hit the Savannah here. Makes it harder for them to double spell, so our crop rotation is more likely to protect our Death Shadow, which is kind of what we're going for. Sure, I'm making 1/1. Prismatic Ending on our Death Shadow. Let's see if we can protect it. We can protect it. Okay. Not a bad turn. A Boseiju. Does that realistically do anything here? Not especially. I think we get attacks. Send everything at Grist, I think. Kind of got to grind our way through this. I don't really want to hit their Underground Sea with a Boseiju. Okay. I think we will draw a card here. Vampire Hexmage. Kind of an awkward one because we just got rid of our second black source. Are we keeping our Boseiju in hand or are we deploying our Boseiju? I think I'm going to deploy the Boseiju here. Like, we've got X spells in our deck. Having mana in play makes them better. We have crop rotation. The more lands you have in play, the better that is. Alright, so they've got a Flood Strand, so they've got access to white mana again. Plow on our Shadow. Sure, it's sad, but I think it had to happen. They got any creature. Okay. What is this going to get them? They can minus the Grist. So you can draw a card, minus the Grist, kill our Endurance. And then they're just going to create a 1/1. Sure. Alright. We're going to struggle a bit now. Our opponent's kind of turned the corner. Like, we're not a million miles away. We do have to actually play out the Dark Depths here, though. Don't really want to attack into this. We're just looking for a black source now. Drawing that card without Nurturing Peatland has proved a little bit awkward. But if we'd have hit something like a Thoughtseize or an Elvish Reclaimer, it would have been well worth doing because we kind of need to keep the pressure on. The longer this game goes, the closer our opponent gets to winning. Like, they have the inevitability in this game in a big way. So we need to try and get the game won, which is what we tried. And maybe we can make it 2020. Certainly possible. We will have to try and punch through some of that stuff. So what are they getting? Savannah, Flooded Strand. Okay, no Wastelands, so that's something. But they're going to keep milling with Life and Malone until they hit an Uro, and that's going to put them out of reach of a single hit of this. And we already have to get through the Ice Fang, so going to be a tough one. Birds of Paradise with the nice art. I like that art on that one. Alright, here goes the slow boat to Dark Depths Town. Tyvar. It's certainly more interesting than keeping hold of them putting 3 mana on a Dark Depths Town. This is certainly going to do more than that. So, we can get a permanent back from our graveyard, which could be, for example, it's a creature card with mana value 2 or less. We don't have a creature with mana value 2 or less. So if we do this, we might just miss. Are we in a position where that's worth doing? I think we are just in that sort of situation that we have to give it a go. Alright, we missed on a creature there. We hit one of the only creatures that we can't bring back with a Tyvar. Yeah. So the other option we have there is just to plus the Tyvar and have it as a little distraction. And the problem with that is our opponent has a Grist on board, right? So they get to blow up our Tyvar. So we at least had a chance of getting some value out of it. We do get to gobble up one of these insects for free. But if they wanted to, they could have just sacrificed an insect with the Grist and blown it up. So I think they were right to get a chance. We could have waited, we could have plussed it and then maybe tried the following turn if we can draw a black source to resolve the Hexmage. If it gets countered, we bring it back. That's a possibility, but our opponent has a Grist, so they can just say no to that. There's an Uro. That puts our opponent to 20. If they attack once, it puts them above a single hit range, which is kind of our only way of trying to win this game right now. So I think we'll probably scoop if we don't draw something good right now. Life from Malone, getting back some fetch lands. That's not too much of an issue. Alright, black source, hook me up. Alright, it's the one thing we have available to us. Get by you. Okay, so we have a win condition in play. Is it going to be good enough? I'm not certain, but they can't really attack with the Uro unless they have an answer for our Dark Depths. If they attack with the Uro, they're always going to have the removal spell. So if we make this now, we can block here, and they might be able to Prismatic Ending it. But if we make it end of turn, we attack once into one of their flyers, then they're Prismatic Ending it on the next turn anyway. So we may as well try and get the value of getting the Uro out of play for a turn. We're doing this now before they get a chance to put in a Wasteland off of their Uro with their trigger. So that can scupper that little plan. And these decks do get to run Wasteland for some reason. The old 80 card, 5 colour Wasteland deck. Right, so we get to block and kill this Uro, but they do get to just replay it again. But that's kind of all we have going for us right now. If we can turn it sideways enough times, maybe we'll be okay. We don't have a Sejiri Steppe in our deck to give it pro green and sail through for the win. So that's just something we're going to have to live with. Okay, that was a secondary from hand, and now they're probably going to just brainstorming for answers. I don't think we have a way of killing both of their blockers here. Due to the time constraints, I think we're relatively likely to scoop it up if they kill our 2020 here. Our opponent's deck is just designed to grind, and ours isn't to the same level. Ramunap Excavator. There is no Wasteland there, so that's not too worrying yet. There may well come a time when it does become a worry though. So they start with an 80 card deck, and they've nearly gotten down to a few cards in our deck. So we've got 39 cards, they got 43. And they've, yeah, they've got an Uro, so this is going to put them to 22 cards in deck. So you can see the raw power of this Yorion Zenith deck. It just grinds so well. Like, we're on turn 10 here, so I think we are way into our opponent's end game now. How are we supposed to overcome all these things? A Wasteland. So we can attack with a Marit Lage, kill the Ice Fang. I think that's what we have to do here. We need to connect twice with the Marit Lage. So that's what we're doing. They don't quite have lethal if they sacrifice with the Grist, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So they don't quite have lethal. Let's play our Wasteland. Not that that's going to really make a difference here. So if we can find a removal spell. Oh, they have the fetch land for the Dryad Arbor, didn't they? So they have exactly lethal if they kill our endurance now, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Removal spell for the endurance. It has to be a removal spell that doesn't gain us life though. Prismatic ending on this. I think we're dead to that anyway. So we may as well scoop it up, save our time, and go to the next game. Alright. Veil of Summer. Kind of useful here. Choke should be very useful. Most of their removal is white, so I like Turak here. But again, this doesn't really work as a tutor target because you don't really get the ability off it. It's just a white guy then. Sorin is useful here. Plague Engineer can certainly smash some stuff out. Opposition Agent. The Veils. These for Planeswalkers potentially. So there's all these things that are useful for us. And even Surgicals for Uro and Life from Alone. So we have all of these options. Tyvar doesn't really seem like it wants to be a thing in our deck at the end of the day. So I don't really want that one. The Berserk is an interesting one. It does allow us to push through with a 2020. But we're not like a full-on 2020 making deck, right? So I think we'd probably trim that one. Do want to spend a load of lands to keep our guys alive. I don't really like the crop rotations against a counterspell deck, so we can trim those. The Safekeeper. Sheoldred's Edict can hit a Planeswalker, so I'm down for that. Tear Asunder seems bad, as it has seemed in most games. I don't know why this isn't just like Abrupt Decay, to be honest. Alright, so if we get rid of those, we've still got to find 5 cuts. How useful are these Snuff Outs going to be? They can hit stuff like Omnath, which isn't nothing, right? Wrenn and Realmbreaker. These make hexproof guys. And the ultimate's kind of good if that's a thing that we expect to happen, but I'm not really sure it is. But it is a Planeswalker, right? So I think it's worth playing there. Maybe we're not the Snuff Out deck, and we need to find 2 more cuts still. Yikes. If we can get ahead and do Ramunap stuff, it works, but they're a Life from Alone deck, so I don't really want to be dealing with that. And then we have 1 more cut. Is it the Wrenn and Realmbreaker? I guess we'll take out the Life from Alone. This lets us rebuy potentially our Dark Depths thing, but we're not really a full-on Dark Depths deck. It's just a thing that is in our deck. So I think we're just going to try and get them with a choke or something and hope that that's good enough. But we've only got the 1 choke there. I'm not really sure how we're supposed to beat this. Our deck isn't fast enough to go under it. And we don't have the tools to outgrind it because few decks do. Alright. If we're trying to grind it, this doesn't hurt, right? We can keep this, we can lead out on Castle Locthwain, deploy the Dark Confidant and try and draw some cards. I think deploying the Locthwain is better than deploying the Dryad Arbor here, because this is the black source, and we might not draw a second black source to cast this. So I think that's where we're going to lead off here. We've got Sorin, who's a pretty nice way of getting some card advantage and get some threats. A green Sun Zenith. So getting a Dryad Arbor here. So we could try and kill their Dryad Arbor. Or we could Thoughtseize, or we could deploy Dark Confidant. I think I want to play the Dark Confidant here. And just force them to have to react to what we're doing. And if they can't, then we pull ahead a little bit. We want to use the Thoughtseize to pave the way for the Sorin later, because that's going to be a difficult permanent for our opponent to answer, but they can Prismatic Ending it for 4 because they have 5 colours in their deck. Alright, Abundant Grace, okay. Was this a thing to try and draw a land, or was it just playing carefully so that they have the best information on what they're doing with their turn? Okay, so there's the ending, sure. Over to us. So we have a Bayou, so we can Thoughtseize first and then see what's going on. We're always playing one of our guys here, so I think we will just play out the Bayou first. Let's Thoughtseize now and see what our opponent's working with. Ponder, Uro. They got this Wasteland, they're not massive. They definitely got mana though, so I don't want to jam them up on that front. I think we take the Ponder here, and then we're deploying the Fiend Artisan here. Now, this doesn't really get very big because our opponent exiles our creatures. And Uro is pretty good at blocking a Turak, so that's not a great option for us. There's a Wasteland. We're probably going to lose the... Oh no, they're just going to play the Uro straight out. Sure. Don't know why... You could do that in a different way, where your Wasteland is your bonus land, and then you get to use your Wasteland. But maybe they've got something in hand that makes that a better play. They had something in hand that made it a better play. Sure, they drew a removal spell off the top. I'm pretty close to wanting to call this one, if I'm honest. We can strip the Uro out, though. That's quite handy. Let's do that. So our opponent is kind of on empty here. But they can put the Yorion in hand and then use the Yorion to get another card off the Abundant... was it Abundant Growth? Is that what it's called? Yeah. So they put the Yorion to hand. They're going to let us untap here? They are. Interesting. Okay. Let's deploy our threat here. We can make a vampire. We've got something going on for us there. We'll deploy his Dryad Arbor out and pass. Okay. Our opponent's going to get to draw an additional card off the Yorion. But we can... can we answer this Yorion? Oh, that's a really good draw that our opponent had there. Just another thing to pressure with. Yeah, that's a pretty good draw. Yeah, our opponent's ripped pretty well this game, but their deck is just full of good cards, and we can't necessarily say the same about our deck. Okay. Bashing in with the Endurance at Sorin. Wastelanding the Dryad Arbor. This does not have Death Touch, unfortunately. Are we... I think having a Sorin in play is better than having a little Vampire. Yikes. Yep, so in comes the Yorion. They get to draw a bonus card, untap their Endurance, potentially waste our graveyard if that's the thing they're interested in doing. How do we win this game? Wish this made a little Death Touch, guys. Alright. We can go do the 8/8 thing. I think we're supposed to have a look at top card of our library and see if that gives us... Sure, I'll take that in hand. I think it's better than... Are we just supposed to make the 8/8 here? I think so. Okay, let it be known, I don't think this is a legacy playable card. But here we are. So we go and get ourselves the Hexmage. So this is permanence you control. We still control the Ikoria. So maybe we can trick our opponent into casting a Veil of Summer thinking it works. So we might be able to get free cards doing it in our opponent's turn. We can just do this in response when it becomes relevant anyway. We can also... does this have reach on the backside? It does. Okay, so we can try and gobble up the Yorion. Let's see what they attack with. That will let us know what's in our opponent's hand. Oh no. This feels like our opponent has a removal spell. I think we still have to do it. Maybe they're banking on this Veil of Summer doing the thing. No. Okay. Let's make this guy. Dinosaur. And they're going to kill it. Feels like they're going to kill it. Sure. Yeah, our deck is not very good. Yikes. What's our opponent got to follow up with? We've got a lot of life to work with, so we're not dead yet. But we're not really alive. We're in this horrible purgatory of letting our opponent beat us down. Plague Engineer. We're just going to name Vampire for Vampire Hexmage, I imagine. Could be Insect, in case you have a Grist. Let's go for the Vampire, sure. Don't think it matters. Verdant Catacombs. We take 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is a 3-turn clock. I suppose I'm interested in seeing what our opponents... Well, actually, no, we know they've got a Veil of Summer in hand, actually. Sheoldred's Edict. It's kind of annoying because they have the Veil of Summer. They can just sacrifice the Dryad Arbor as well. We do need to get these cards out of our hand to get our Castle Locthwain up and running. I hate to do this, but I think we do this just so we can get our Sheoldred's Edict online. They're just going to cast a Veil. Yep. We've been in a situation where our opponent's got some stuff and we kind of have to play into it because our deck doesn't have the option of doing anything else. So we can do this now. Well, we can't do this. We could have done it in response, but we can do this on our opponent's turn. Maybe try and pick something up. But it's just going to deal... It's just going to kill one of their 1/1s. Oh, no. If they have a Minsc and Boo, it can kill the Boo, though. So I think we're probably keeping it alive for that. We have an option of paying with the Surgical Extraction. But I think we're just going to keep ticking along as we are. We're going to get the Bayou. We're going to hit ourselves with this. Black, black, green. What do you got for us? Another land. Okay. A Dark Confidant. This is a real card. Certainly comes with some consequences, but we'll play our Verdant Catacombs. And we'll pass the turn. Greatness at any cost. But it doesn't feel like what we're doing is very great. But maybe we can get there. Like, at Barret Lage, we can remove all the Source to Plowshares from our opponent's deck, so we don't have to worry about that. Wasteland kind of annoying. Do we want to draw an additional card here at the cost of 3 life? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It doesn't actually affect the clock, I don't think so. Swamp. I think I will draw a card here. We need to do something with our next turn or the game is over. We can get punished here if our opponent just deploys Minsc and Boo, but they have 1 card in hand. Right. Could still be Minsc and Boo because they have 4 mana because of the Dryad Arbor. Brainstorm. I can't deploy Minsc and Boo now. How are we going to get out of this jam? I guess we can have... We can't even play Vampire Hexmage here because of the Plague Engineer. If we trade here, we take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're dead next turn anyway. We may as well try and get another card and hope that some combination of 2 cards can keep us alive. It's a bit risky because we have Dark Confidant. But our curve is pretty low. Okay, we're on 1. And we drew another Reclaimer. So we can play 2. We can't block their stuff. We're just dead. Yeah, our deck is very bad. Yeah, like our opponent can just answer all the things we do. We don't have a particularly strong grind engine. We're not like the Newton Elves where they have multiple Fiend Artisans, but they also have an eject button in the form of Natural Order, which can just win games on its own. We don't have that sort of thing. We're kind of trying to have Dark Depths to do that. That requires more things, and it's very bad against these white decks with these flyers in. So they kind of just got us on every possible angle, and our deck is pretty squiffy. Let's go to round 4. Let's see if we can get a win with this deck. Alright, this is the opening hand we've been dealt. Our opponent's mulligan to 6. I think this is a keeper. It's not very good, but it gets to play Magic, which some of our other hands haven't really this league. We have 1 drop into... This can be a Dryad Arbor. Not really where I want to be with it, though. But it's a thing we can do if we want to. I think we do keep this. We can lower our life total a little bit, but we're not really a very good Death Shadow deck because we don't have a whole bunch of ways of lowering our life total. We're kind of relying on Snuff Out a bit much there. A Verdant Catacombs from our opponents. Uh-oh. Lion's Eye Diamonds. This could be the Epic Storm. They run Verdant Catacombs and these cards. Let's see. So probably looking at maybe a Galvanic Relay turn. Just again, the bad lands is usually the best land. Yeah, okay. Galvanic Relay. Sure. Alright, let's see what they get with the Galvanic Relay. Infernal Tutor. There's a Bauble. Lion's Eye Diamond. Lotus Petal. We don't have a main deck Collector, sadly, so that's not an option available to us. Sejiri Steppe, that doesn't help. So next turn our opponent can always cast Infernal Tutor, cracking 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds. And there's nothing we can do to stop them from doing that. We can shrink the amount of mana they have available. I don't think this is good enough, but I think it's the best we can do. Even if we were like a pretty strong green-black deck, more like Newton Elves or something, I still don't think we're going to have a great time in this matchup anyway. So I don't think it's a particular composition of our deck that's necessarily going to get us, although by having this card instead of just more Green Sun Zenith and not having a Collector Reef main deck definitely feels like an error. Okay, yep, so you play all your stuff, cast your Infernal Tutor. Oh, they had a Dark Ritual. This means they can peer into the Abyss if that's what they've got in their deck. The Infernal Tutor isn't a thing you see in the Epic Storm all the time. Right, Burning Wish, what are you going to reveal? If they try and Thoughtseize us, oh, they got an Echo. They could have peered into the Abyss there, right? That would have just drawn their whole deck. I don't mind being echoed too much here. Yeah, I think our opponent could have just drawn half their deck instead. Now, they might not have these things. Right, let's see. The second Echo of Eons. Right. They don't have boatloads of mana here. The second Dark Ritual, that should do it. That should seal the deal for them. Do they have... They're going to have to use the Echo of Eons this turn, right? No, they got Burning Wish, actually. That should be able to get them a Tendrils. So they're going to play out a bunch of stuff. And then they're going to end up with a bunch of mana from the 2 Dark Rituals. They've got 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. And they only need a little bit to win. So this is a game over. I'm not going to force them to play it out. Alright, we want this Collector Roof. Where is it? There we want this Collector Roof. Veil of Summer is okay. Can buy us a turn. The Abrupt Decay, if they're playing stuff out, can be useful. I don't hate these to kill goblins if they go into a goblins plan. Opposition Agent is relatively useful here. Surgical Extraction sometimes has text. Force of Vigor has some useful stuff going on. So these are some options we have. Snuff Outs can get in the bin. Tyvar is going to be pretty bad. This is going to be pretty bad. Life from Malome is not where we want to be. We want our Disruption. We're not going to need Safekeeper. Not going to need Berserk. Crop Rotation can sometimes give us a quick win, so I don't hate that. We're not going to need our Karakas. We're probably not even going to need our Sejiri Steppe here. So we can take that out as well. And that's pretty clean. Do we want Surgical Extractions? They shouldn't leave an Echo in their graveyard. The only time they'll leave an Echo in their graveyard for us to hit is when it doesn't matter. So it can be bait for us to just cast a Surgical Extraction and get some more Storm. So I don't think that's where we want to be. We're just going to run it like this. And hope we can get there. We don't really have a great sideboard either. We don't just have like, here's some big haymakers for this and this and this. We're kind of relying on our tutors, but our tutors are very bad. Well, Green Sun's Zenith's good, but our other tutors are pretty bad. So we have goblins covered. We don't have regular Storm stuff covered at all. The only card on our deck that actually deals with Storm in any sort of capacity, really, is the Thoughtseize or the Green Sun Zenith. Now, do you want to mulligan this to try and find one of those cards? I think so. London Mulligan is powerful, we should use it. Veil of Summer is kind of interesting, especially when backed by double Wasteland. I'm not opposed to this one, but is it good enough? I think we should be just looking for a Thoughtseize here. Ooh, okay, this isn't a Thoughtseize, but this is one of the things I think is worth keeping. So we'll keep this. Have these things. The Veil of Summer is useful. That stops us getting done on turn 1. Crop Rotation, probably not where we want to be. And a Tear Asunder just has to be the other card to go here. So we can lead out on a Verdant Catacombs, hold up our Veil of Summer, and hope that that's good enough to buy us a turn to drop the Collector Roof. Scalding Tarn. How many permanents can our opponent play? Mishra's Bauble. Lotus Petal. Mishra's Bauble. So they can't Thoughtseize away our Collector Roof here. Alright. Go get ourselves a Bayou. Deploy the Collector Roof. This is a card that our opponent can probably not win the game while it's in play. Now, there are a few niche scenarios where they go through, like, Dark Rituals and stuff like that. But it's very hard for them to win the game with this in play. They're cracking their bauble now because they're not going to be able to once our Collector Roof enters play. Oh, no. We're going to get Abrupt Decay immediately here. And that is going to be the end of the game. Yep. I don't think we can wait to try and do that with Veil of Summer backup, especially when we don't have another land. If we'd have hit another land, maybe that's the thing we can do, because it definitely buys us another turn. But again, I think just getting the Collector Roof in play. They run like 2 Abrupt Decays, at least in the video I was watching earlier today from Brian Cook. So, yeah, tough stuff out there. If we cast this, we go Shields down. Just going to be constraining our opponent's mana here. Alright, so we just got Veil of Summer up here. We have kind of cut ourselves off 2 drops, but if we don't find lands, we're not winning the game anyway, so we just need to keep this Veil of Summer up and running. What have you got for us, Lotus Petal, Cracking and Scalding Tarn, Dark Ritual, here we go. Lion's Eye Diamond, a Brainstorm, sure. So if we can sort of burn our opponent's resources and then Veil of Summer, we might be okay. Or we might be able to play another turn of the game. There's this Bauble, they got 1 card in hand, I imagine it's probably Relay at this point. Burning Wish, sure. Echo of Eons, alright. This means they can't Tendrils us, but they might have a Grape Shot kill on their deck. Okay, so we've got another Veil of Summer. This also means that we have a Veil of Summer shuffled into our deck. If they go for an Empty the Warrens here, we have Plague Engineer, but we can't cast it. Alright, so we basically just reset the game, but they have 2 lands in play and we have 1. And they got an extra card. Alrighty. Play this. Let's get the Bayou out of our deck. Do you want the Bayou? Or do you want the Overgrown Tomb? I think we want the Overgrown Tomb here. So we can get some Death Shadow on the run. Let's try some Thoughtseize. Dark Ritual, Lion's Eye Diamond, Lion's Eye Diamond, Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox Opal. Yeah. That's quite a lot of mana there. I think we take the Dark Ritual and hope that we can find a tutor for our Collector Roof, which we know is in our deck now. That's our strategy. We've got Veil of Summer to keep us going. We're not doing anything right now. Like a second Overgrown Tomb in our deck would be nice, but again, we don't have one of those. We do have another Thoughtseize though, which is worth casting just for the purposes of our Death Shadow. That's what our opponent drew here. A Rite of Flame. Sure, we'll keep on the same strategy here. And we'll crack this for Bayou. Deploy a very small creature. It's a 2/2, but it can beat down here. We can start activating Castle Locthwain next turn, which should take some big chunks out of our life total and really speed up the clock. Our opponent is just trying to find business here. We do have... Oh, are we going here? There's a Lion's Eye Diamond. Maybe they're worried about like Cabal Therapy and they'll play 1 out. I don't think they're... Okay, if they're playing multiples out, maybe they're just going to go here. Yep. So what do they find? Is it Galvanic Relay? There's a Mox Opal. If they have a Tendrils in hand, we have that covered. An Infernal Tutor. Cracking. Okay, so this is going to be a lethal Tendrils that we can then Veil of Summer. And Ad Nauseam. Okay. See what they get here. Veil of Summer, Burning Wish, Bauble, Lotus Petal, Mox Opal, Bauble, Infernal Tutor, Scalding Tarn, Right Flame, some more lands, whole bunch of stuff. Brainstorm. Yep. Got some Echoes in their decks, so they have to be careful here. Yeah, they're stopping now because Echo kills them. Make them play out as much of their stuff as they can. I'm not going to bother clicking through this. The things we get to do here is one thing, so Rite of Flame, sure. They know we have Veil of Summers in our deck, so they're incentivized to play around it if they can. They've just drawn like 1,000,000 cards, so they should be able to do something of that nature. So this means... Spells you control can't be countered this turn. You and permanents you control are hexproof. That doesn't actually stop our Veil of Summer, so we'll allow that. That's to play around Mindbreak Trap. It's Brainstorm. So we can make our Death Shadow lethal next turn if we get another turn. So we just need our Veil of Summer to buy us 1 turn. Another Rite Flame. The more resources our opponent burns, the better, but I don't think... That's alright, there's a Burning Wish. If they go for Empty the Warrens kill here, Tendrils of Agony, sure. I'm just going to put it on the stack now. Cast this. So these Tendrils, I'm no longer a legal target for them. So they might keep spinning their wheels here. They got mana floating. They might just go into a Grape Shot kill, or they could go into Empty the Warrens. We have Empty the Warrens covered at least. So let's see what our opponent musters up right now. Yeah, they've got to be careful with the Galvanic Relay if they cast it, but I have to assume they have the pieces. They don't need to do that. Infernal Tutor, Crack Lion's Eye Diamond, sure. So we're down to whatever they get off the Infernal Tutor. Is it going to be a Burning Wish into Grape Shot? There's the Burning Wish. We're about to see a Grape Shot. There's the Grape Shot. And we're done. Yeah. Like, we have some useful stuff. It was a bit unfortunate they had the immediate answer for our Collector Roof there. But sometimes they're just going to have it. Yeah, a bit awkward. We're trying to scrape a win with this deck now. Not convinced we're going to get one. To be honest, this deck doesn't feel like a deck, really. It feels like an idea that somebody's had, but hasn't really worked out. Let's go to the final round and see if we can get ourselves away from the dreaded 05. Oh, sorry, my mic was turned off. All right, we've got a good card on the board now. So this is round 5. Oh, a good card. Okay. Our opponent's probably somewhere in the initiative spectrum. Not sure how we're supposed to beat the initiative decks, but we'll try. Let's waste down this. And then we can just hopefully Life from Loam wasteland them. Ancient Tomb. Okay. No play. The problem with Life from the Loam here is that it's going to be a bit slow because I have this Ancient Tomb. Ideally, I'd like to draw another wasteland. We definitely can't crop rotate for one here. Unless we're crop rotating with a Karakas. That could be a little bit fast and loose. Alright. Thalia. Okay. That's fine. I'm going to play out the Karakas here. We want to keep the Thalia in play for a little bit because it's kind of annoying for our opponents sometimes because it stops them from playing out their Moxes and Lotus Petals. And I'd like to take 2 damage here, weirdly. We can get these Death Shadows up and running. I don't mind that. We'll try and bounce this in the end step so they can't redeploy it. That means we can wasteland them off of their Ancient Tomb potentially. Or off their Cavern, depending on what we feel the need to do. Right, so we'll bounce this. Go to our turn. Grist is real good. I think Grist is better than doing the Life from the Loam plan here. We'll pay 2 life. Make our guy. Yeah, this is real good. This gives us a removal for the next thing they do. If it's just a Thalia, we can just bounce it anyway. And then we can start putting the squeeze on them with Wasteland. Alright. This is going to be a Seasoned Dungeoneer. A Palace Jailer. Interesting. So they're going to become the Monarch. And we're going to lose our Insect token. Alright. That's certainly a little bit irritating. So trying to Wasteland somebody out of the game when they've got the Monarch is not great because they're going to be drawing a lot of cards. We have 1 black source right now. So if we Thoughtseize our opponents, we go to 14. It's not really good enough, is it? Let's start off with an insect. Now we could go get our Life from Loam up and running here. That's 3 cards. That's not too shabby. Are we casting our Thoughtseize this turn? Are we casting? We haven't played a land yet, so I think we're okay to use this. Hold up the Karakas for Thalia, which means we're probably playing out our Verdant Catacombs here. Cracking this. So we're getting close to having our Death Shadow coming online. So we'll take a peek at our opponent's hand. Coppercoat Vanguard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7s. They're not a million miles away from it. I think we take the Coppercoat Vanguard though. And yeah, our opponent's hand isn't the strongest over there. Taking the Monarch from our opponent is something we can probably do quite soon. And if we take a hit here, our Death Shadows become the biggest things on the board until they make some Angels, which I hope doesn't happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I drew a Solitude. That's real bad for us. Like, we lose 2 counters on our Grist. It's not like the worst, but they've got another threat in play, which is going to jam us up. Alright, so we can't actually deploy our Death Shadows just yet, which is awkward. Now we can kill one of these by getting a Dryad Arbor here. I don't think we're dredging that. I think we're just drawing a card. Sejiri Steppe. Are you useful? Our survey says no. So we can make a 1/1 here. Doesn't really do very much. We can get a Dryad Arbor, sacrifice our Dryad Arbor, kill their Solitude. Then we lose our Grist to the Palace Jailer. But it stops them gaining life and makes the Ancient Tomb a real cost. I think we're going to do that. The Dryad Arbor, sacrifice this, blow up this Solitude. Now what are we doing with our turn? We can't crop rotate into anything that deals us damage. Actually, that's not true. We could crop rotate into Castle Locthwain. That doesn't deal us damage now, but it does next turn. We could crop rotate into Nurturing Peatland. That's in our deck, right? Let me check my list. That lets us put some 1/1 shadows on the board. Sure, I guess that's a thing we can do. We'll sacrifice our forest, I think. We're going to get a Nurturing Peatland. Tap this for black, puts us to 12. This gives us a 1/1. Gives us a second 1/1. So this gives our opponent some real choices now. We might be able to get the Monarch back. We've got the Sejiri Steppe, so any creature can sail past their blockers. But another Solitude here is bad news. Elite Spellbinder. Sure, that doesn't do anything here. The Sejiri Steppe will allow us to mess with our opponent quite nicely. Maybe then we'll start grinding with the Life from the Loams. Ugh, that's so savage because this kills both of our guys. We needed them to brick for one turn and they didn't. Alright. This feels like the most competitive we've been all league. And now we have literally nothing going on. We can't afford to Life from the Loam here. We need to find some kind of threat. Not that our deck has good ones, to be honest. Oh, it's so annoying. Yeah, just getting buried by the Monarch. We will draw a regular card. Ah, we have this really bad card now. That's fun, isn't it? We do get to blow something up with it, though, so it's not the worst. So we can play our Wasteland out. We can hit the thing that's giving them 2 mana. Or we're kind of making our opponent have... Yeah, I think we'll take out the Cavern here, just because we need the Ancient Tomb to make them low. Otherwise, we're not really going to have a chance here. We can use this to exile a permanent. A non-land permanent. So we can exile either of these two, or we can exile the Chrome Mox. I think we're supposed to exile this Elite Spellbinder. Right, so that went through. We take 2 here. We go to 10. Just chat with our opponent, who's a fan of the channel. Okay, that's not a problem for us. We can bounce it when the time comes. Sure, there's the other Thalia. So we can bounce one of them, which is fine. But alright. Which one of our things we want here? Alright, we have a Snuff Out, which is kind of awkward. We can bounce one of the Thalias, snuff out the other Thalia. Yeah, it's gonna be bad times. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can't cast their Mirror's Call yet, but they can cast some other thing. I think we get rid of the Heretic Cathar. Deals more damage. And we bounce this in case this names the Karakas. Like Death Shadow is a big creature on this board. They could name the Nurturing Peatland here. Yeah, they named the Peatland. Now the reason we didn't crack the Peatland is if we draw the Invasion of Ikoria, we can make an 8/8 guy, which I think is worth doing. So this is what we got. It's Chrome Mox. We're going to put underneath it. And a mirror. There's Thalia. So now we can't cast the invasion. Oh dear. Hexmage. We can deploy the Hexmage. We can block here, take 4 and die. Let's concede the game. We've been doing a lot of that lately. So, decays look good here. Collector Roof has text potentially, as does the Force of Vigor. Potentially. Turak is definitely coming in. Plague Engineer. Toxic Deluge probably has to come in. Maybe Sorin is okay too. Bit slow, but I think probably worth it. Removal's good. Wrenn and Realmbreaker doesn't do anything. Tyvar doesn't do anything. Ramunap Excavator I actually like here. I like being able to wasteland lock our opponent. Tear Asunder. What? This card's just bad. Shouldn't be in the deck. There's a lot of cards I feel that way about in this deck. Sylvan Safekeeper can protect our thing, but that's not really what our problem is. What was our last cut here? I prefer the Ramunap to the Life from the Loam, so I'm going to take out the Life from the Loam. Yeah, it's tough. We have a piece of removal and then nothing else. I think we have to mulligan this. Although we do have a double Wasteland though. Wasteland is very good in this matchup. Go on then, deck. We'll keep the Wasteland. I think we are playing Dryad Arbor out first. Not a great start. Just tapped or untapped. Esper Sentinel. So this is like the Perez build that I've played on the channel before. Okay, we have a Dryad Arbor. Should we know that their deck is also a Wasteland deck, I believe, if it's like the Perez build. It's kind of annoying having 2 Wastelands and then trying to be Sorin in them as well. Grist is nice if we can get there. I think we're trying off of this trade. We just want to keep the board clean and just try and put them in the dirt with Wastelands. It's not a great strategy, but it's what our hand does. Yep, so they've correctly identified that we attack with the Dryad Arbor, which means we don't mind making this trade, so they shouldn't take it. So now we have the question. We can play something like an an Overgrown Tomb here, and then try and play a Grist next turn, or we can just try our Mana Denial plan. And I think I want the Mana Denial plan. That's usually the best way of tackling these initiative decks. Obviously, this initiative deck is a little bit different to the other ones. I think it's the Urza Saga Wasteland one, but... Alright, we're going to see a 3-drop here. And then we're probably going to get killed by it. Yikes. This is the thing we needed to not happen. So they can name Grist, and it costs us 5 to play and 2 to activate. So Anointed Peacekeeper against Planeswalkers is brutal. Although a Stiff Breeze against our deck is also pretty brutal. So there is that. Abrupt Decay. Okay. They didn't name the Wasteland, so I don't think they care too much about the Wasteland. I think we just play this tapped and pass a turn. So we can play a Grist next turn, but our opponent will get to draw a card. Do we have anything better than that going on? Probably not. But if we can Grist, we can immediately minus it to kill the Anointed Peacekeeper, which then unlocks our Abrupt Decay for the following turn. It does cost us one of our mana sources. Elite Spellbinder. So we're probably not going to be able to Grist either. Alright. Yep, there's the Grist. As expected. I don't think we can trade off our mana source now. Oof. Like, we could Wasteland our opponent here. And then try and ride our way back into the game. So just sort of stop everything that our opponent has now. Or we could try and cast a Sorin next turn. How good is Sorin next turn going to be? Probably not great, but how good is anything we've got going on right now? Yeah, I think we need to play the Sorin next turn, which can at least trade with the Spellbinder in terms of the token it makes. So if we Wasteland our opponent and they just draw another land, it's going to feel real bad. And it just means that we're not actually casting any spells. Our opponent's too far ahead on board for us to Wasteland here. Now we get punished with the Seasoned Dungeoneer. Yeah, probably. As we have been there. So the Spellbinder or the Anointed Peacekeeper can get the counter. The Sentinel is a soldier, so it can't. It's only the party creature types that Dungeoneer can pump. But it's going to pump them. Alright. So we're getting our smacked up pretty hard. Alright. So this is a 4-4 that we can't block and a 3-1 that we can't block. So that's 7 this turn, and then next turn they can hit us for 5, 6, 7, 8, and we can't block any of it. We can't even kill ourselves. Alright. That's the end of the league. Here is our record from this league. We went 1 and 10 in games. That is easily the worst record I've ever had playing a League of Legacy. Let's talk about the deck and why it's a steaming pile of poop. Okay, so this is probably the most interesting part of the video in my opinion, is explaining why this is bad. So our deck is doing a lot of different things, and some of the things we're doing aren't even good in the first place, but we don't have enough support for any of the plans that we have. So we've got, let's sort of divide up how this looks. Let's zoom out a little bit here so we can get another column in. So we have this plan of Dark Depths, Thespian Stage, Elvish Reclaimer with like this sort of stuff. And the crop rotations can go in there too. So this is a plan. We've got some cards for it, but not that many cards for it at the end of the day, right? This isn't a reliable, we've got 9 cards to execute this combat. That's not really going to happen. Now, some of our other pieces can get us there a little bit. So, you know, we can Invasion of Ikoria for our Hexmage, or we can Fiend Artisan for our Hexmage. So it's not completely just these cards, but it's mostly these cards. And that's a very, very small package for a deck trying to make a 2020. We just can't reliably make a 2020, right? It's just not a thing our deck can actually do. Then we have another plan here, so let's move these out of the way. Then we have Death's Shadow. In terms of lowering our life total, we have these things that can lower our life total, really. The Overgrown Tomb can be fetched off of the lands, so, you know, there's a few more ways of doing this, but we only have the one Overgrown Tomb. If we're trying to reliably cast Death's Shadow, we probably need a second Overgrown Tomb at least. The Sylvan Library is another thing as well that can lower our life total. But here's the thing. Dark Confidant. That's basically, a lot of the time, is going to be one of the only creatures we play that our opponent cares about, right? We have 3 Reclaimers, 2 Confidants, and then the other stuff needs other things to be worthwhile. So the chances of our opponent just having a removal spell for Dark Confidant are incredibly high. So we're not really getting much in the way of cards for it. It's not, I know dice removal isn't, you know, always the best argument, but here's the thing. Removal costs less than Dark Confidant. We're not giving our opponent other targets. So we're just kind of saying, oh, here's that card that was just not doing anything in your hand. Here's a target for it. Enjoy. So that kind of doesn't really work. We can't reliably make our Death Shadows, and we don't have a good enough disruption package for what we're trying to do with this deck anyway. We've just got 4 Thoughtseize, which is not enough if you're relying on these things to try and swing combo matchups. We just can't really do that. And we can't go fast because we've got no real fast mana, so we can't speed out things anyway. We can't reliably make a 20/20, so we can't present a quick clock. And we don't have enough threats to present things that can actually win the game realistically. Now let's have a look at some of the other things we've got in this deck. We have things like Tear Asunder. This is not a legacy playable card in my opinion. We have better versions of this card at better mana cost. So we have Abrupt Decay in the sideboard. That's just better for the most part. Like, if we had Abrupt Decay in the main, that would make more sense. So this card is just a bad card. Tyvar. What is this card doing in our deck? It can untap our Dryad Arbor, or make it so our Dryad Arbor doesn't have summoning sickness effectively when we play it, so we can do some stuff. The mill 3, we don't have that many creatures, right? If we're playing against a white deck, they're just going to remove our creatures and we don't get them back. And some of our creatures we can't even put into play for any good reason. So Death Shadow needs our deck to be doing something that it doesn't do very effectively in order to even be playable. So Tyvar just doesn't do anything. It's just a completely blank piece of cardboard in the deck. Wrenn and Realmbreaker. I don't think this is a legacy playable card. Like, maybe in some sort of fringe situation. I think I've probably lost to it at some point. But when people were trying it out, I think it was more the other cards around it were good and whatever this was would have been fine, more or less. So this card is pretty weak for what we're trying to do. It's not as if we're trying to play loads of different colours, so the lands you control have a bunch of rainbow abilities. That doesn't really do anything. Making a 3/3, that's not really going to square up that well against a lot of things in the game. Milling the cards to get more cards back, that is fine for me. That's probably the only ability on this that really makes a lot of sense. But I don't really know why it's in the deck other than the fact that, oh, you know, some cool Planeswalkers, let's play these. And then we've got this Invasion of Ikoria. This card is not legacy playable in my opinion. 2 mana plus X. That is so much mana to get stuff. And as you saw, getting an 8/8 isn't good enough a lot of the time. If you're spending 4 mana on an 8/8 that doesn't really have anything else going on for it, that doesn't do anything, right? In Legacy, you play 4 mana, you're supposed to be getting Natural Order Atraxa or something, you know, bananas like that, which instantly gets you value. Or getting a Progenitors that just can't be dealt with, or whatever. Or, you know, create a hoof, win the game immediately. This doesn't do these things. It just doesn't do anything, right? And if we're trying to tutor some of our cool things out of the sideboard, like Plague Engineers and Opposition Agents, Invasion of Ikoria, 5 mana for a Plague Engineer. That's too late to do anything. Even if we do it on turn 4 with a Green Sun Zenith powering out, that's still too slow. Getting Collectory for 4 mana, too slow. It just doesn't do anything, this card. It's just really, really slow. And if it's on its own as well, like, it's just a bad tutor, right? It just doesn't do the things it needs to do. And attacking it can actively lose you the game sometimes if you're diverting your resources. Now, earlier I mentioned that we don't really have a very strong plan here, which means that our Sylvan Safekeeper isn't really doing very much either, right? This is mainly for the Dark Depths plan, but, you know, can protect our other things. But when are we ever going to be tutoring Sylvan Safekeeper? Because we're so light on creatures that we kind of need to be tutoring for other things first anyway. So I don't know when we're going to be tutoring for this. So it just doesn't seem worthwhile. Now, Green Sun Zenith is a good card. You know, this is the tutor we should be running. And our deck should be skewed to do that. Or Fiend Artisan is a fine card. This is a nice engine. We can do stuff with this, and that's great. Berserk, why are we running Berserk? This is just so we can maybe cheese somebody with a Death Shadow or a 20/20 through a blocker. That's not worth a card slot when we're so desperate for things that actually impact the board and do things in our deck. It's just wasted slots. Sheoldred Edict is fine. Life from Loam is fine. But if we're already playing Ramunap Excavator as a tutor target, I don't see the need for the Life from Loam. We could run more Green Sun Zenith, so we've effectively got like 5 Ramunap Excavators. Paying 4 for Ramunap Excavator is fine. Paying 5 is too much. So I think this is a better use of our resources. And yeah, so we've kind of got this plan, which we either need to dedicate more stuff to or probably just remove, right? Or maybe have a much lighter package, just run 4 Reclaimers here. And maybe we'll drop in the crop rotations, because we had turns where we had the crop rotations sat in hand and we just didn't really want to use it for anything, right? Just like, what are we getting? I guess we're getting Nurturing Peatland so we can hurt ourselves. That's not where you want to be. And then the whole Death Shadow plan just feels like an absolute bust here. It just doesn't really push us into the game in any meaningful fashion because it's so easy for people to answer because we don't have the good stuff around it. You know, we don't have the Dazes, we don't have the Force of Wills, you know, Hibs Turax or whatever, and we don't have the ways of cantripping to find the things that make our life total low enough. We kind of just have to naturally draw them. So just Death Shadow in the shell just doesn't make sense. So we should either be playing a Death Shadow deck, and I think Bug Shadow is an interesting thing that you can do. I know some people have been splashing green for a few little tools here and there, but you could go more into Bug Shadow if you wanted. I don't really think Black-Green Shadow is where you want to be. I'm not really sure what that would look like, but it would have these cards in it for sure, because like Dark Confidant and Sylvan Library. So you'd probably be going up to 4 Dark Confidant and maybe even increase your Sylvan Library numbers and do some other sort of wild stuff with your life total. Have some more Overgrown Tombs, maybe sort of playing like a sort of semi-suicide black type deck from the old days, but with Shadow. Maybe that's a thing you could play. It would certainly be better than this, because this doesn't do anything good, right? We don't have... None of our plans are fleshed out to the point that they're actually good, and some of our plans are actively bad. So that's a lot. We could always just drop like the Death Shadow stuff and go more into just playing like classic Newton-style elves, but that deck already exists, which is sort of like green-blacky mid-range deck with a load of Fiend Artisans and Elvish Reclaimers and things. So just play that deck if you want to. Or if you want to play Dark Depths, you can play a mid-range Dark Depths deck, but it doesn't look like this. I'm actually in the process of writing an article about mid-range green-black depths, so it's kind of useful having this so I can explain things that work and that don't work and how much you need to dedicate to it. Because the green-black sort of mid-range depths deck is not a deck that requires you to go fast. It's not Turbo decks, but it's also not like a super control deck. So you have like a third way, as if you want to call it that. And it runs things like Dark Confidant and Elvish Reclaimer. Basically, you're just playing a bunch of good cards that synergize together a little bit and give you an access to a Marit Lage several times using things like Life from Alone, but you actually have a passable beatdown plan with your like Reclaimers and Dark Confidants and things like that. So that's a different deck entirely to what we have here, and I think that is probably where you want to go here. But like I said at the top, this deck was like a complete mess of different things, and I had no way of evaluating it. I did say that I thought it was kind of a bit disparate and all over the place and was probably bad, but this was a deck that somebody posted online that was then sent to me by a donor who wanted to see it. So here it is. We've seen it, and we've decided it's terrible and unplayable, but it was very hard to evaluate other than, oh, this must be bad, but why would somebody have posted a thing with it? I guess infinite monkeys on infinite typewriters, eventually you might win some games with this, and if somehow you squeeze them together in the right way, you might post it. I can't remember. I don't think the list actually was like a winning deck list or anything. It was just somebody posted that they've been playing. But this is a perfect example of how not to build a deck. So in that respect, it's kind of a useful tool to look at and say, what are we doing with this deck? And when the answer comes back, losing is about all we can do with this deck, then I think we've gone beyond that to explain exactly why we're losing. Now, let's have a quick chat about the sideboard as well. So, like I mentioned earlier, the tutoring for these things isn't good enough. If we had more Fiend Artisan and like a Cradle, like Newton Elves, then sure, these make more sense. But we're not running Cradle. We're not running any sort of way of jumping up the curve mana-wise. We don't have lots of mana dorks to go with Fiend Artisan and ramp up the curve. So these are just things that we have to draw them and get lucky. So what I would want for this sideboard is more copies of the important cards, right? Let's have, 2 or 3 Turak. Let's have more Opposition Agent. Let's have some more Plague Engineer type stuff. Collector Reef is the one where if we're going up to 4 greens on Zenith, we can get it. But I think there's no point trying to fix this deck. This deck is fundamentally broken to the point where any way of fixing it would be making it into a different deck entirely. So you can go into Death Shadow. You could go into like mid-rangey Loam, or you could go into like the Fiend Artisan Newton Elves deck. Those are the 3 options you can do, and none of them look anything like this. They're all very different decks that have 1 or 2 cards in similar slots or whatever. So yeah, I think I've been talking about this one for a fair bit now. It's just a bad deck. Like, we could have more choke. What's one choke going to do, right? Just have some more of this. If you want this effect, at least play 2 so you've got more chance of drawing it, right? But this deck has so many flaws in it that I could probably talk about it for an hour and still be pointing out the flaws in the deck building. Like, just another thing, we've got these libraries and we've got these reclaimers. We should be running more fetch lands, which will also smooth our mana a little bit as well. But the more fetch lands, which can pump our reclaimer, they can shuffle our Sylvan Library. So these sorts of things is just another thing we could be running here. And like I said, we just don't have any punch. We're not doing anything powerful. We're not doing anything reliable. It's just, sorry, this deck is gotten to me. I dislike having 05s on the channel. I especially dislike having 110 records on the channel. But I at least hope this has sort of shown you why you can't play things that are so like disparate, especially when they're not intrinsically powerful on their own. So like, I've mentioned it before when I played things. When you have decks that have A plus B, you want to have multiple versions of your A's and your B's, so you're more likely to find them. Now, if you're playing a deck that's got A plus B combo in it, and then a C plus D combo, and then an E plus F combo or whatever, that means your deck's just got loads and loads of pieces that do nothing on their own, and then require you to have more, half your deck doesn't do anything on its own. Maybe more than half your deck doesn't do anything on its own. So how can you ever expect to win a game? At least just have some just solidly good cards and then fit in a combo around it. I think that's the way I like to play Magic more. Either a really heavily dedicated combo that does the thing it's doing reliably with some amount of consideration to stopping what your opponent's doing in order to stop you. Or you have a deck that's got a load of good cards in it. So you've got, hands that just have cards that play Magic and have a combo built into that at top end. So that's kind of like the difference between like Green-Black Turbo decks, which I play on the channel, which is a dedicated combo deck, which always can do its thing. Whether or not it can get through your opponent's things, that's usually where the crux of the matter is. And you've got tools to try and work your way through that. And then you've got the like mono-white painter deck, which can just play a game of Magic. Like, all of its cards play Magic. Now, it does have an A plus B combo in it, but, they're smaller in number than you would find in some combo decks. And they do still pump like your construct tokens, or they can be turned into other stuff with Oswald. So they're not just completely dead cards on their own. They do have synergy with other stuff going on. Those are kind of the ways that combo decks should be, in my view. This sort of, let's jam a bunch of stuff in here. And like, one of our combos is just making a guy. That's not a very good combo. It's not a particularly spectacular guy either. Yeah, sorry. Been probably raging about this one at you, but I hope that I've made my points with this deck and you can understand where I'm coming from, and that you never ever queue into any leads with this deck or build it in paper. But at some point soon, I will be playing a slow green-black depths deck on the channel, because that's what I'm writing an article for my 2020 specialist patron tier, which has an article on rainbow depths at the moment, as well as my massive guide to green-black turbo depths, which has probably been updated by the time this video goes out. I'm updating it about once a month. Obviously, next month there's going to be some big updates because Lord of the Rings hits Magic Online. But yeah, so why not have a look at that? Why not become a member, or just become a member of the low tier and just give me a couple of quid a month to say thanks for making videos? I really appreciate it. And drop into Discord and say hi too. These are all things you can do, but the thing you shouldn't do is play this deck. All right. Thank you very much for watching and enjoying my pain. Goodbye.